Premier League Fulham vs Newcastle United prediction, team news, lineups preview. Both bidding to make an immediate return to winning ways, Fulham and Newcastle United do battle in Saturday's Premier League encounter at Craven Cottage. The Cottagers were second best all evening in a 3-1 loss to Nottingham Forest on Tuesday, while the Magpies were pegged back in a frustrating 1-1 draw at home to Everton. Match preview. A magical Rodrigo Muniz moment rescued Fulham during the weekend's 6-goal spectacular with Sheffield United at Bramall Lane, but with the Cottagers' scintillating South American nullified at the City ground. Fulham's luck on the road quickly ran out in midweek. Callum Hudson-Odoi and Chris Wood both found the net before Marco Silva brutally axed 3 of his players just after the half-hour mark. And the Portuguese's brash decision was to no avail as Morgan Gibbs-White increased the Tricky Trees' advantage just before the break. Tosin Adarabioyo's header may have reduced the arrears early in the second half. But unlike at Sheffield United, there was to be no miraculous turnaround from the Cottagers, who are simply ambling to the Premier League finish line with nothing major at stake in the closing period of the season. 13th in the table with a 17-point advantage over the relegation zone, Fulham do only have a 6-point deficit to make up to West Ham United in the Europa Conference League spot and now return to a ground where 28 of their 39 points have been accrued this term. 6 of those have come in their last 2 home fixtures, a pair of 3-0 beatings of Tottenham Hotspur and Brighton Hove Albion, and 7 of Fulham's home triumphs this season have seen the Cottagers score at least 3 times. They have never recorded at least 8 home wins with 3 goals in a single season during the Premier League era. Possessing their own affinity for goal-laden performances on home soil, as evidenced by their extraordinary 4-3 come-from-behind triumph over West Ham United on the Easter weekend, Newcastle were on course for another emphatic St James Park success against Everton, thanks to Alexander Isak's 15th of the season on the 15-minute mark. However, a moment of madness from Paul Dummett in the closing stages offered Dominic Calvert-Lewin the chance to end his goal drought from the spot, which he did. Despite the best efforts of Martin Dubravka to rescue a draw for Everton and leave Newcastle deflated. Nevertheless, a 5th home game in a row without defeat leaves Newcastle's European destiny in their own hands. As while Eddie Howe's men reside in 8th place in the table, they are only 1 point worse off than West Ham, who have played a game more. The Magpies' dire away form continues to hinder their continental dreams, though, as 7 of the visitors' last 9 road matches have ended in defeat, and Howe's men have gone 11 games without a Premier League clean sheet on their travels since putting 8 past Sheffield United without reply. Furthermore, each of Newcastle's last 3 away games versus sides from the English capital has ended in defeat, but they have had Fulham's number over the past few years with 5 successive triumphs over the Cottagers, including a 2-0 FA Cup success at Craven Cottage at the end of January. Team news. Not one Fulham player was missing from Silva's squad through injury against Nottingham Forest, and the Cottagers' boss should have a fully fit contingent available again, but alterations appear to be inevitable after Tuesday's triple first-half change. Indeed, Olive Sasa Lukic, Alex Iwobi and Harry Wilson were sacrificed in the 33rd minute, the second quickest time that a Premier League manager has made 3 substitutions, although Silva did not single any one of them out for a particularly shoddy performance. Nevertheless, Willian, Bobby de Cordova-Reid and either Harrison Reed or Tom Kearney should now freshen up the Cottagers' 11, while Timothy Castaigne will likely displace Kenny Tett at right back too. While the Fulham treatment room remains unoccupied, a decimated Newcastle will remain without at least a full 11 for the trip to Craven Cottage, including recent ACL victims Sven Botman and Jamal Lascelles. The already suspended Sandro Tonali is now facing further charges over alleged betting offences from his first 2 months at Newcastle, and he remains on the absentee list with Lewis Miley back. Callum Wilson chest, Nick Pope shoulder, Miguel Almiron knee, Valentino Livramento ankle, Joe Linton thigh, Kieran Trippier calf and Matt Targett Achilles. However, Lewis Hall ought to be fine after being forced off in the second half against Everton with fatigue, while Anthony Gordon will reinforce Howe's ravaged ranks upon his return from suspension and could immediately oust Jacob Murphy for a start up top. Fulham possible starting lineup: Leno, Castaigne, Adarabioyo, Bassi, Robinson, Palhinha, Reed, De Cordova-Reid, Pereira, Willian, Muniz. Newcastle United possible starting lineup: Dubravka, Croft, Schär, Byrne, Hall, Longstaff, Guimaraes, Willock, Barnes, Isaac, Gordon. We say, Fulham 2-2 Newcastle United. As abysmal as Fulham were during their midweek reverse to Nottingham Forest, the Cottagers can almost always be back to deliver in front of the home faithful, and Silva's squad is in far better shape than their injury-riddled visitors. Newcastle's impressive winning sequence against Fulham therefore ought to be snapped on Saturday, especially given the Magpies' failures to shut up shop on the road, but Howe's effervescent attackers can still capitalize on their hosts' recent defensive vulnerabilities to take a point back to base. Thanks for your watching. Don't forget to click the subscribed button and hit the bell icon for more.